guys, welcome back. This is Donna Sharp with Holistic Wellbeing. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I am so delighted, and it doesn't take a lot to make you very excited. But I have to tell you, the one thing is that my daughter's expertise as a photographer, her makeup artist skills is absolutely phenomenal. But her photography skill is absolutely amazing. And if you are in need of a great photographer and a makeup artist, please consult my daughter, Ariel Amir. You can find her on social media, Ariel Amir, Ariel Amir. You can find her on Facebook. You can also find her on Instagram. She is a dynamic, not only a dynamic person, but she's a great photographer and a great makeup artist. So as you can see, I'm here in my beautiful studio, and it's all as a result of her skills. So thank you so much, Ariel. So guys, listen, Wanda, thank you so much for joining. Welcome. I am here tonight. We've been speaking from this book, 3 Steps to a Strong Family, and I've been on this subject now for probably going on 2 weeks or so. And the title of the book is 3 Steps to a Strong Family, and it's by Linda and Richard Erie, which was supported by Stephen Covey. So I spoke on many different aspects of what it takes to have a parent really understands how to foster a relationship with their children. So what I'm basically going to do tonight, because we spoke on many things, I'm going to go over a little summary of some of the things that we spoke about and take an intermission, the first intermission, before we progress forward and gain a better understanding of what it really takes to foster that relationship with your children. Remember, your children, they don't have to be a teenager or an adult. They could be small ones. It doesn't matter. They're your children from the day that they were born, and you want to make sure you care for them as such. Hi, Valentino. Thank you so much for joining. I am so excited. I'm in my little studio here tonight, courtesy of my wonderful photographer and makeup artist, my daughter. So kudos to her. You'll find her on social media, Ariel Amir, Ariel Amir. I want to give her some big ups because the girl has skills and talents. God has really blessed her. So tonight I'm going to speak on just the first intermission, because we're not necessarily halfway through the book, but there's some things that I just want to shed light on that we've already spoken about, and just do a little review, because we spoke on many things as it pertains to creating a strong family, and this was in regards to having your children be a big part of that. All right, so contrary to popular belief, one of the things the author said in this book is that they feel like when they write a story on creating a perfect family, that their family is perfect. And I want to make sure that you guys understand that's not the case. When they're writing a book and they're going over their life experiences, it's because it's just that. They've experienced things in their life that they didn't want to necessarily have another family go through. So it's not that everything is perfect. It's just that they discovered, hi Ernesto, thank you for joining. They have discovered that there's other things and techniques that you can possibly involve in your own children's lives that will really make things better for you. So it's not that their life is perfect, but they want to make sure as parents, you're understanding some of the skills that it takes to be better, right? So what they scribe about is that it does not mean that their household is perfect, right? But they're trying to help us. Here is what we know or should understand. Parents isn't a science made up of perfected formulas that always works the same. Every single household has a different set of people, all right? All children are not going to be the same. All parents are not going to be the same. The dynamics that make up the family is not going to be the same, right? Everyone has a different way of doing things. So the way I run my household, it may not necessarily be the way you run your household. I know Ernesto, if I can get it out. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ernesto. Ernesto is from a Spanish, Latin descent. I'm from a West Indian, Jamaican descent. Miss Wanda, I'm not exactly sure. She may be from the US, but we all have different cultures and different makeup. So that just shows you right there that no two-family household is going to be the same. They're going to be different, right? Down to the things that we cook and eat. It's not going to be the same. So don't feel like this is a cookie-cutter approach where you're going to take one formula for one family and place it in another, because it's not going to work out the same, right? Because a lot is going to pour into that. And the one main thing is how well you initiate those systems that we spoke about here and put them in place, and how well your children are going to grab hold of that. And it's basically how you present it, not only the type of system you set up, but how you present it to your family and to your children. That's going to determine how well they follow through. So by the time they grow up and they have their own children, you'll develop such a respect point with them, or may not. Again, it depends on how you bring up your children. And you'll find out that, like I said, the scripture that I read yesterday, you train a child in the way that they should go. And it's all going to determine what you do and your participation in the process. So the legal system that we spoke about, what it does, it helps families, but it's not the panacea, which is a solution, will not happen overnight. It's not something that you're going to develop this system for your household and you say, you know what, I want my children to grow up this certain way, and you blink your eye and all of a sudden everything just falls in place. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes consistency, and it also takes discipline on your part. So you have to understand that you definitely have to continue doing your part. What unites parents is that we love our kids, and we are always trying. All right, we're not perfect. All right, there's no what should I say, standard formula that every single family needs, and I think I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. There's no standard formula. Every single person is different. Always having a sense of humor is super, super important, because you'll lighten the load on the whole learning process. As you're teaching them and you're giving them examples and the way that they should grow up and do things and following the rules and regulation, you want to make sure you add some fun to it, because if it's just a strict household, as I mentioned several days ago in one of the lives I spoke on, you don't want it to be so strict that you're going to have them pull away from you either, right? So what we found is that crisis plus time equals humor in family. And you don't necessarily see it while it's happening, because there may be a serious incident going on and you're getting involved with your child and you're wondering, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to bail them out of whatever they just got themselves in. But what's so nice about all of it is, as you're going through that process with them, yes, you didn't want it to happen, and sometimes you're probably smiling through the process wondering, how do we even get here? But when everything is over and said and done, later on you can smile about it, because you can look back at it and say, you know what, we didn't care for what took place, but there was a lesson in it. There's a lesson in everything that we do in life, and that's what makes it so much fun. But add humor to the process, and you'll see how much greater your children will appreciate you. So as always, I want to read you a story. This one is not very long. They give you little excerpts so that you can tie in the message that I'm actually speaking on, and it makes a little bit more sense to you, if you know what I mean, right? So one day at a political convention where Richard was running for office, I left to go home a little early with 6 tired, hungry children following behind me like ducklings. Suddenly, one of them accidentally, or maybe on purpose, stepped on another's foot, and full-fledged yelling fight broke out. Exhausted, hungry, grumpy, and laden with problems myself, I snapped out of a nasty correction and tried to find out who did it, what to whom, and who started what first and why. After all, we were a long way from our repentant bench, and I was nowhere near calm enough to ask them politely to quietly consider what each had done wrong. Not far behind us, 2 men whom I didn't recognize were closing in on us fast. I quickly tried to smooth things over, embarrassed by every child who had chimed in on arguments, and not very happy with myself either. The 2 men quickened their pace. Well, if it isn't Linda Erie. One of them blurted out, "You just made my day." He chuckled as I stumbled over nicety amid still growling children. My wife will be thrilled to know that Erie's fight too. I tried to laugh. I was embarrassed, but it was funny. I was red-faced, but most of all, I was mortified that anyone would think that the Eries didn't fight. Please know, it's a promise, we fight. So that's what I just mentioned earlier. You know, the author of the book basically was saying that don't ever think that whatever goes on in whatever they're speaking of as far as family and children doesn't happen in their own household. And that's what happened here. They were at a convention, and she was feeling embarrassed because someone was coming up that she knew after the children were getting into a big brawl. but she had to smooth it over calmly. The past couple of days, one of the things I spoke about is how to generate peace with your children in the household and how to remain calm. And the example I gave yesterday was of her going into the store with her daughter, and the daughter was screaming and yelling, 2 years old. And you know how that works. The children takes control of the parent, screaming and yelling and carrying on. And all the parent kept saying to the child was, it's not so bad. Everything is going to be okay. Just relax. We're almost home. And she calmed her way right to the register. And the man was so impressed with her that he came up to her and says, you know, I just have to mention that I just love the way you took control of that situation. And that's where I spoke yesterday about understanding that when you have the peace that surpasses all understanding, no matter what the storms are that's in front of you, they are going to still be storms, but you have to know how to guide and smooth your way through that one, right? So quite similar here. So even though, you know, these authors speak about how to create a nice family structure at home and how to have the best children, things are going to happen, and that's how you're all going to learn. So don't think you have to have the perfect family, but at least do your part as parents and make sure that you're giving them as much as you possibly can. All right, they have to do their part too, but at the same token, do your part as a parent, and expect the best, and you'll find out that they'll follow suit most of the time. All right, because they're just innocent. They're really innocent. So here's what we know: all families put on their best face in public and make everyone feel that everything is just peachy keen. And I'm not saying that's not always true. There's a lot of times you have families, the same way you see their children is the same way they are at home. I have to attest to that. I'm going to attest to that. You know, when I go out, typically everyone says, you have two of the most beautiful children. And I guess after hearing it about 2,000 times, I recognize that, you know, God has really blessed me. And I don't, yes, I did my part, but my hat goes off to them. And the way that they're disciplined and the way that they just follow through on certain things that they're supposed to do. And again, they're not perfect. I'm not perfect. But I'm really, really thankful, and I'm really blessed that God has given me the children that I do have. And I'm very, very proud of them. So just understand that no two families are alike, and they're not going to do things the same. So all families, they sometimes put on their good face in public. When they go home, they're all screaming and yelling at each other. That's not always the case. Most of the family problems we see and occurs to some degree in other homes. So again, understand that no one is perfect, right? Understand that we are not alone in this struggle. We all have different levels and different degrees of things that we have to work through in order to get to that light at the tunnel. So don't give up, keep pressing through. But let us understand that there are simple lessons of life. None of us aren't perfect, right? And it's important that we should look past those things that we should not look past those things that requires our attention. They should not be ignored. When you're seeing something that's incorrect in your children, you want to make sure that you are rectifying those situations so that it doesn't reoccur again. Sometimes they innocently may not know that that's not right or that's not wrong. Sometimes they blatantly know that what they're doing is wrong, but they're convinced to some degree because some of them don't know how to say no. And you have friends too that can be overly convincing. So you have to stay behind them and just guide them along the way. So in summary, laying a good foundation, these are some of the things we spoke about the past several days. These are just a few of them. Laying out a good foundation is very, very imperative. And that's when they spoke about the family law, developing that family law at home, which creates structure. It creates structure so that your family won't deviate outside of the circle. When they do, it's okay, right? Because you have to allow them flexibility and independence. But it creates structure in the household. Establishing respect expands your child's independence. I spoke, I think about 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago, that it's important that respect, we understand that respect goes both ways. It's not just the children respecting the parents, but the parents should always also respect the child as well, because as they're maturing and growing, they want to see that you're doing what you're asking them to do, right? So respect goes both ways. And a simple family legal system involves 3 things. We spoke on this as well. Understanding the family law, creating some traditions, some foundations, some things, some memories that the children can look back on and say, you know what, I remember when we did this, and this is what allowed us to learn from it. The second thing is understand that penalties for breaking the rules are real. If you set structures and they break the rule, there has to be penalty. If you just basically look at them and smile and say, oh, don't worry about it, just do it again, guess what? You're going to have some problems on your hand. And I mentioned to you before, you have to bend the tree from its young. You can't bend a tree when the tree grow older, because by then it's too late. Basically, it's the same as the saying that you guys understand. That was a Jamaican saying. Let me give it to you American styling. When you say bend the tree from it young, it basically means that you can't train an old dog new tricks. Now, that's not necessarily true, because when a person is older, they might be open a little bit, be a little objective to you teaching them something new. Maybe they see that actually has worked on several occasions and they say, you know what, I'll try that. But typically when a person grows older and you're trying to train them and teach them something different, they don't want to hear it, because by then they're set in their ways. So that's what we mean by bending the tree from the tree is young, right? And the third one is a way, make sure you're allowing them to repent to avoid the punishment. Give them the chance to repent for what they did, because by doing so, it prevents them from getting into punishment. And the laws and the rules that they speak about in this book, they help to govern specific behaviors, but it's not something that's just stamped by stone that you have to truly live by. Allow some flexibility, allow some leeway, so that the child can use their creativity as they're learning at the same time. So children also need to make good decisions and make certain key decisions in advance. And by them doing that, they're able to place themselves in situations that they may not anticipate will happen with them or to them in the future. But it gives them a little practice ahead of time, so that when it does cross their path, they'll know exactly how to deal with that situation. So guys, that's what I wanted to speak with you on tonight. I wanted to summarize just a little bit, take a first intermission on the several things that we spoke about. We spoke about how we respected our children. We spoke about practicing the law of peace, which is what I spoke on, creating that calmness as a parent and not getting angry, because you know what anger does, right? We spoke about that last night. We also spoke about how to apologize and being a big person as adults, to be able to say, I'm sorry. Because our children love it when we can say, I'm so sorry, that should have never happened. But you know, let's try it a different way next time. So we have to do our part as parents, and that's a few of the things that we spoke about. We also spoke about decision making, how to make the best decisions. And from beginning to end, we covered that, just in case you didn't get a chance to see that. But you can always go back on any of the live and hit replay, because we did about almost 2 weeks of this parenting thing now. And also spoke about repenting and forgiving. You guys know what it means to forgive someone, because when you forgive someone, it takes the weight off of your shoulders and allows the relationship to be developed in a much better way. We spoke about obedience and what it takes to be obedient to our parents, right? We covered that in detail. We spoke about consequences and the rewards and penalties that's a result of that. And we laid the structure down on family laws, and I spoke with you on family law. We talked about the triangle, where I spoke on family law, consequences, and also decision making, and how they tie in hand. So we covered several things so far from this book. I wanted to take an intermission tonight just to give you a recap and a summary, because I know a lot of you haven't been watching me every single day. But remember, you can always go back and hit replay on any one of the lives, so you can catch that segment. Maybe it's something that you can use for your existing family, or maybe it's something that you can share, you know, with a friend or another family member. Feel free to hit the share button so that they can see it for themselves. It's one thing you're explaining what I say to them, but it's another thing when they're watching it for themselves. You never know what impact they may have on them. So if you love what you heard tonight, please hit the love button. Outside of that, I like to see comments, because I'm just interested in finding out where your thought process is as I'm speaking through some of these points, and how it has been able to impact you along the way. I would love to see that. There's no way for me to see your comments unless you type them in the bar. All right. So if you'd like to learn more about me, please log on to holisticwellbeing.com. That's WHOLELISTIC, wellbeing.com. And there you can find out why I am so passionate about what I do. I do pray that you guys are all staying safe. I know you've been in-house, some of you, for quite some time, but it's okay. I'm just going to tell you, there is always a positive in every single situation. So find the positive one in this particular situation and learn from it and make it work the best for you. All right. So have a fantastic evening. Ernesto, thank you so much for joining. It's great to see you again. And Wanda, Valentino, great to see you. Thank you for all the hearts. Miss Wanda, love your vegetable garden. Keep up the great work. So guys, I'll see you back here again tomorrow. I believe tomorrow will be like day 483 of me doing these lives. It's an absolute pleasure and my wonderful gratitude to all of you for your fantastic support throughout the year. Have a fantastic evening, guys. Ciao.